They contended that conventional Christian teachings are incompatible with Mormonism's distinctive theology. Some chastised Joel, saying that his words cast doubt on the Bible's authority as the supreme source of Christian teaching. Joel faced criticism in 2020, during the coronavirus outbreak, for using $4.4 million in PPP federal funds on his church. Claiming to be able to preserve about 370 employment, the church requested the funds. But it was not yet established which jobs were on the list. Although Osteen claimed he did not accept any funding under the Pandemic Care Act, records from the U.S. Small Business Administration showed that his church did receive $4.4 million. When Joel Osteen of Houston's Lakewood Church failed to assist Hurricane Harvey victims, he was criticized on social media. Hurricane Harvey in 2017 wreaked havoc throughout Texas. Destituteness reached thousands. And several houses of worship welcomed those who had been homeless due to the disaster, providing them with a sense of normalcy during this extremely difficult time. Prior to being pressured online, Osteen's 16,000-person megachurch Lakewood decided against helping the displaced. The church had not been opened because, according to representatives from Lakewood, it was also damaged. Even while other shelters were at capacity, Osteen insisted that the church would remain open. Finally, the Lakewood Church was opened as a temporary refuge on August 28. The rumors of Joel's jet ownership and his lavish lifestyle are another source of contention. Keep watching. There has been a lot of discussion about Joel Osteen's private aircraft ownership amid the rumors and scrutiny of public individuals' lifestyles. A lot of people wonder how Joel, a famous televangelist, pays for his own transportation, which puts his life in the sun. Joel Osteen's use of a private jet has sparked criticism, even though the Lakewood Church, where he is a senior pastor, has not issued official statements confirming these allegations. Some think it shows a life of luxury that goes against Christian values of humility and service. But his defenders say the plane is essential for his busy schedule and that it helps him connect with fans all around the world. Recent public outcry against Joel was prompted by rumors that he owned a private plane. Following a social media post in which he emphasized the value of appreciating life's little pleasures, Joel Osteen recently faced opposition. "Some of life's simplest pleasures are the ones that matter the most," Osteen said in an X post. "Even if your financial situation is precarious, having loved ones at your side is a blessing. You should consider yourself fortunate to be healthy. The ability to gaze up at the night sky is a gift." Some people were encouraging, and his message got over 5,000 likes. Others, however, accused him of hypocrisy and selfishness based on his wealth. Considering his enormous riches, some commenters pointed out the absurdity in his post. That as a Ferrari worth $350 million and residences worth multiple $1 million. Many took to social media to criticize him, claiming he was too egotistical to understand the problems faced by regular people. "The simple things in life give me a goddamn break." One ex-user responded to Osteen's remark by posting photographs of what appear to be Osteen's residences. In response, Joel Osteen stated that he is ignoring his detractors and that he is unable to dwell on negativity because of his faith and optimism. Joel and Victoria actually do reside in a mansion in River Oaks that has an appraisal value of over $12 million. Among the wealthiest preachers in the world, Joel Osteen has amassed his fortune through a variety of means. Remarkably, Joel Osteen chooses not to accept the $200,000 salary that would be his as a preacher. You now know the answer to your question regarding Joel Osteen's salary. He doesn't. He has amassed a fortune through real estate investments, sponsorship deals, media appearances, and book sales totaling millions. How much is Joel Osteen worth? Joel and Victoria Osteen have amassed an incredible net worth of almost $100 million through their several Christian-minded ventures. Joel leads weekly services for almost 45,000 people at the massive Houston, Texas, church known as Lakewood Mega Church, where he serves as senior pastor. Victoria and her husband both serve as co-pastors, and she is practically the head woman of the church. However, the couple's CV doesn't end there. They are regulars at celebrity hangouts and have written a slew of books. We may see the power of the media to affect religion through Joel Osteen's meteoric climb to fame as a pastor and televangelist, who came from poor roots and had no academic training in theology. Watching his father preach over the years helped Joel Osteen refine his preaching abilities, despite the fact that he did not have a degree or much experience when he became a pastor. The prosperity gospel, of which he is now a leader, holds that material success and good health are gifts from God. Houston, Texas is home to what was once a tiny church and an abandoned feed store in 1959. The importance of maintaining an optimistic outlook and communicating inspirational messages to an audience is also demonstrated by Osteen's story. Like, subscribe, and click the next video button on your screen if you like this one. Genesee Yvonne Moreno, 36, was named as the shooter the next day by the police. Growing up in Conroe, Texas, Moreno struggled with mental illness and had a criminal record. Asserted that her violent outbursts were caused by schizophrenia and that a joint response from the mental health and law enforcement sectors had been necessary for some time. There was no clear indication of why the shooting occurred. After Moreno's arrest, the police verified that his AR weapon bore a Palestine sticker and asserted that anti-Semitic graffiti had been found. The Lakewood Church issued a call to prayer for the city and its residents in the aftermath of the shooting. "Of course we're devastated," its pastor Joel remarked in response to the tragic news. "The reasons behind these occurrences remain a mystery to us. The small child, the late woman, and the other males will all be in our prayers. We will maintain our resolve and press on." On the social networking platform X, Osteen informed his 10 million followers that the church congregation was in utter shock. A national dialogue about faith, resilience, and the strength of community has thrust Osteen into the spotlight as a result of this tragic occurrence. He is now under much more contentious scrutiny as a result of the incident. Keep watching as we take a look at a few of these controversy cases. Issues concerning Joel Osteen. Pastor Joel Osteen has refrained from preaching on very divisive topics like nothing in his career has been free of controversy, though. Joel has frequently been worried about making a statement, but he has refrained from doing so on the subject of same-sex marriage. After publicly stating his belief that homosexuality is not in line with God's will, he went on to argue that the church sometimes gets too caught up in addressing one issue at the expense of others. Osteen denied that God condones homosexuality, stating that his understanding of the Bible makes it a sin. However, he did say that anyone who identifies as gay is welcome to attend his church without fear of condemnation. Many of Osteen's adherents are confused and even critical of him because he does not give explicit biblical instruction on homosexuality. Critics say Joel's welcome rhetoric is inadequate since it does not fully affirm and support, and some say he avoids addressing the inherent contradictions between biblical teachings and modern society ideals. His unwillingness to publicly support LGBTQ relationships and marriage equality causes marginalized people to question their place in the church, which in turn causes them to feel excluded and doubt themselves. Conservative Christians argue that by softening her position, Osteen undermines the authority of the Bible and traditional Christian beliefs. It seems like he values cultural relevance more than staying true to the Bible when he minimizes the biblical condemnation of homosexuality. Not only that, but there are other contentious aspects of the smiling preacher as well. The one about his wife, Victoria Osteen, is the subject of another, which we will investigate in a moment. In 2014, Joel's wife Victoria Osteen came under fire from other Christians for implying that following God will bring them satisfaction and for telling her church congregation that Christianity is all about selfish pleasure. Standing with her husband Joel Osteen by her side, Victoria said, "When you come to church, when you worship Him, you're not doing it for God really. Because it brings joy to God, you're doing it for your own benefit." Several Christian authors condemned Victoria's remarks, accusing her of evangelical Post contributor Matt Moore giving his work a title. The joy-depriving type of cheap Christianity practiced by Victoria. Austin Walsh brought up the fact that Victoria's remarks are heretical according to Christian belief. They are blasphemous and disgusting. He contended that her belief that doing good deeds is important in and of itself is a sign of paganism since it elevates the individual to the status of ultimate good. According to Walsh, Christians completely reject the idea that doing good deeds makes one happy. He made the points that sin, obligation, and obedience are fundamental to Christianity and that Christians are called to be both martyrs and fighters. Additionally, the president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary brought attention to the fact that Victoria's perspective is heretical in light of Christian doctrine. He pointed out that Christians aren't primarily concerned with making people happy, but rather with helping them overcome sin, and that they aren't given material prosperity or physical health as gifts to their faith. The sermon was criticized at Christian News Network for being indicative of a church focused on self-centeredness. Joel said that Mormons are Christians during an appearance on Piers Morgan Tonight on CNN in 2011. Evangelical Christians and Mormon academics alike were quick to critique and argue this remark. Regarding Osteen's claim, I hold the view that Mormons practice Christianity. In my opinion, it's not a major problem. All of us are on a quest to discover the same God. Received widespread condemnation and indignation. The comment made by Osteen was openly criticized by prominent evangelical figures including John MacArthur and Albert Mohler. Over the course of his career, Joel Osteen has inspired and uplifted millions of people around the globe through his writings and sermons. He is the senior pastor of Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas, the biggest church in America. Lots of people don't see it this way, but they're actually letting bad things in. What am I supposed to say? I feel blessed, I assume that's why. You can't knock my strength. The doctor has cleared me to go. There is no doubt about my abilities. His faith is put to the test by recent tragic news as he confronts an unfathomably awful situation. Interested in hearing the tragic news? Be vigilant. In the beginning a significant figure in the world, Joel Osteen is famous for his weekly television services and his best-selling books. First, let's take a look at the tragic news that Osteen received recently. How did he come to be one of the most well-known Christian leaders of the 20th century? Let us discuss his childhood and early years. Keep watching. The birth year of Joel Osteen was 1963. John Osteen and Dolores Pilgrim had 6 children, and Osteen was born into that family in Houston. John Osteen Sr. had been ordained as a pastor by the Southern Baptist Convention. However, he separated himself from the Baptists in 1958 and, the following year, established the non-denominational Lakewood Church in an old feed store in Houston's northeast. Joel completed his secondary education in 1981 at Humble Public High School in Humble, Texas. He continued his education at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but was unable to earn a degree in radio and television communications. He oversaw production at Lakewoods from 1982 until 1999. Joel may have made headlines across the world today, but nobody anticipated him continuing in his father's footsteps. Joel, the most timid of the Osteens, was more assured in his ability to use a camera to broaden Lakewood's audience than his more outgoing siblings and in-laws. From guiding the cameraman to polishing the lighting, he oversaw the entire church media department for 16 years. Joel went to his dad's house to assist choose his church clothes for the following day, keeping a yellow-line notebook with each week's outfit and the date. On top of editing the sermons himself, he also gave his father specific cues on when to look at the camera to capture the right time. Joel said in a 2013 interview with HuffPost that he had always doubted his ability to preach in front of a congregation. Despite his father's repeated requests, he finally consented to step in while his dad was on dialysis. After Joel's first ministerial service, his father passed away less than a week later, giving him a legacy to carry on. Many days had passed since his death. Even after the initial shock subsided, I yearned to speak to the congregation. According to what he told the publication, it was completely illogical. It was a seminary I hadn't attended. I had presided over a single service. During an interview, Joel stated, "I never dreamed the ministry would grow, but here we are today." This was 14 years ago. The Lakewood Church is led by Joel Osteen as its senior pastor. Osteen succeeded his father as pastor upon the latter's passing in 1999. Lakewood quickly surpassed all other U.S. congregations in size and growth rate when he was pastor, quickly increasing the church's budget for television airtime, buying billboards and other locations for commercials, negotiating with networks for prime time slots, and targeting the biggest media markets were all ways he grew the church's media presence. His weekly TV show quickly rose to the position of most watched motivational show in just a few short years, reaching viewers in over 100 countries. In 2004, he published a best-selling book titled Your Best Life Now: 7 Steps to Living at Your Full Potential. In 2005, Osteen went on a 15-city tour throughout the U.S., where he preached to enormous crowds at almost every stop. The Compaq Center in Houston, which had previously hosted basketball and hockey, was transformed into a 16,000-seat megachurch that year by the Lakewood Church. From 1999 to 2016, the weekly attendance at Lakewood increased from 6,000 to over 50,000. Also, by 2018, the weekly viewership for the televised services was above 10 million. How to Become a Better You: 7 Keys to Improving Your Life Every Day was one of Joel's many books published at this time. Joel Osteen surpassed other prominent Christians like Billy Graham in terms of American influence, according to the January 2007 edition of the Church Report. Joel recollects worrying that, in contrast to John, the congregation at Lakewood would dislike his style of preaching. Osteen states that he was more ferocious than I was. He had a Baptist upbringing. It has a unique style. Joel claims that he attempted to model his behavior like his father's for the first half of 1999. But eventually came to terms with the fact that he could pave his own way. This, he claimed, transpired after he read Joel Osteen's teaching approach in Acts 13 verse 36. Osteen, a genial, young-looking preacher who became known as the Smiling Preacher, usually stays away from complex or traditional theology when delivering sermons. His message was characterized by simplicity and optimism, and he frequently emphasized his firm conviction that God desires a better existence for humanity. This strategy obviously resonated with the audience, but it also garnered harsh criticism from some who saw Osteen only as a motivational speaker providing a diluted version of Christianity. Some said he was preaching a prosperity gospel that encouraged people to amass riches at the expense of others. Some in Protestant and Roman Catholic circles have argued that the prosperity gospel is a terrible misrepresentation of Christianity due to its transactional style and emphasis on worldly wealth. Skeptics, both within and outside of religion, are worried that the teachings might lead to the financial and emotional exploitation of the poor and the emotionally fragile by blaming their lack of faith for bad luck. Joel and his wife's way of life is frequently scrutinized alongside their words and teachings. Joel Osteen's personal life. Joel Osteen, a well-known televangelist, is married to Victoria Osteen, and the couple has been together for almost 30 years. Joel supposedly met Victoria when buying a watch battery from her mother's jewelry store, as stated by the Netline. It was rumored that the two began dating soon after meeting. 2 years later, on April 4, 1987, the happy couple tied the knot. 2 Osteen children, Jonathan and Alexandra, were born to Joel and Victoria. The accusations of physical violence against the prominent co-pastor against a flight attendant in 2008 were devastating to her reputation. The pair was reportedly sued by Continental Airlines' Sharon Brown following an incident that occurred on a flight from Texas to Colorado in 2005, as reported by NBC News. According to Brown, a flight attendant and Victoria, who was seated in first class with Joel, were physically and verbally assaulted because the other attendant was slow to wipe up a spill on Brown's armrest. Despite Brown's claims that she maintained her polite demeanor throughout, Victoria allegedly shoved her in the left breast, slammed her into a lavatory door and then tried to get into the cockpit. Thus, Brown demanded punitive damages equal to 10% of Victoria's estimated net worth of $100 million. But what really transpired? The New York Times reports that it ended up in court. Since nobody denied that an argument had taken place, it appears that it had. The flight was postponed due to the argument, and the Osteens were removed off the plane. Even while Joel and Victoria both denied any physical aggression, a witness implied that Victoria had treated the 2 flight attendants disrespectfully due to their race. The jury deliberated for only 2 hours before finding Victoria not guilty. However, for misbehaving with a crew member, he was fined $3,000. Breaking news of a tragic occurrence at his congregation reached Pastor Joel Osteen not long ago. Just what happened? Peruse the details as you continue to watch. Shooting at Lakewood Church, a tragic case around 2 p.m. on February 11, 2024, just before the Spanish-language services were to begin. Witnesses at Lakewood Church reported hearing many gunshots. No bomb was later discovered, despite the shooter's assertion that she had one in her backpack. In addition to shooting a 47-year-old guy in the leg, she allegedly sprayed the ground with an unknown liquid and wounded him. Put an end to the gunman's rampage after she raised an AR-15 rifle. During the gunfight, the shooter's son, who was 7 years old, was also shot. Transferred to the Texas Children's Hospital, the youngster is in a critical state. All of that transpired in a flash, less than 5 minutes. Residents in Houston were understandably alarmed by reports of a second shooter, prompting authorities to order the evacuation of establishments in the downtown center. The absence of a second shooter has been established by the police. By February 12, the injured 47-year-old man had been discharged from the hospital, while the 7-year-old boy underwent surgery to remove part of his frontal lobe.